It's Friday morning, and this is Soul Connections. I'm Charlotte Cheney, and you can find me at charlottesoul.com. I am a life coach, and I am a speaker, and I am an author and a blogger, and I'm really glad to have you here today. Today, I want to talk about control. So I don't know how you are, but I know that when I feel out of control with something, I tend to get a different scale of emotion. So I'm from Texas, and we use terms like bee in a bonnet. And so a bee in a bonnet is just kind of an irritating thing that goes on. But sometimes I get mad as a hornet, and I find myself just really angry at something I can't control. And I just want to come unglued. Do you have that sometimes? So many of us know that a huge epidemic in this world right now is heroin or opiates or drugs or alcohol. I think I was reading recently there's more deaths to drug overdose than anything else right now. So I don't think I'm the only one in the world that is dealing with people who have addiction in their life. And so if that's you, you know what it's like to feel out of control. You wonder like, wow, if you would just quit doing drugs, then our lives would be normal. Have you ever felt that way? Or if you would just stop eating too much, if you would just stop looking at pornography, if you would just stop whatever it is you're doing, then my life would be okay. And so a lot of us who really camp on that particular feeling find ourselves in Al-Anon, because we find we are working so hard to get that person who's hurting us to stop that particular activity. And we realize we can't. And so in working toward that change in that other person, we find our lives completely falling apart. Can you relate to that? Can you relate to a part of your life that has come unglued because somebody else isn't doing what you need them to do? Maybe you're not sleeping at night because your children are making decisions that are not decisions that you have taught them to make or want them to make. Maybe you're not sleeping at night because your job is out of control, or your boss is out of control, or your spouse is mistreating you. So what are you going to do? What happens when you're driving down the road and someone cuts you off? Do you freak out because you can't control that other driver? Or can you look within and control yourself? And how am I doing? What about politics? How are you handling the political world right now? Are you just coming unglued because you don't have control over the president or the people in office? Is that destroying your peace, your inner self? I mean, I know what it's like. The reason I'm talking to you about this is I know what it's like. I had a little issue this morning. I have 8. I'm going to repeat. I have 8 children. That's 4 and 4 children that my husband and I share together, Brian. And it's a lot of people, a lot of individuals. And each of those children have parents that do not live in our home. And so they have their own style of parenting. And so it's extremely challenging to parent a person who has another parent who chooses a different style. So this morning, I got a bee in my bonnet. As I told you earlier, that's just a little bit of an irritation, not really mad as a hornet or anything. Really, honestly, got my feelings hurt. Sometimes we call that panties in a wad. But so I was setting out to do something special for someone, and that person didn't acknowledge what I was doing, and I got my feelings hurt. And so I can't go control that person and say, hey, you need to recognize who I am. But what I want to tell you what I did do. I stood back from my emotion, which for me this morning was hurt feelings, and I acknowledged that that person has something going on in their life. And so let's say I'm driving down the road and someone cuts me off. I can be like, hey, you cut me off, and I can get angry at that person. I can say, hey, you might have something going on in your life. Maybe I could step back and give you some grace today. So, where there are people in your life that you need to kind of step back and get grace and not be so focused on how they're doing things and they're not doing things the way you do it or the way it should be done and all that stuff, but maybe stepping back and looking within. And that's where Al-Anon is so helpful. You show up at Al-Anon. Most people show up at Al-Anon, which is the 12-step program to AA, NA, SA, or whatever the other addiction is, where you're going to kind of get recovery help for yourself, for someone else's addiction. And you go in there, every one of us shows up trying to get tools to get our loved one off of their addiction. But we all end up learning that we are the ones that need the healing. We are the ones that have gotten someone else's life so out of control and in our own lives. So we've lost control of our own lives because of what someone else is doing. So in the 12-step program, and something you may know is a prayer that gets prayed very frequently. It's called the prayer of serenity. And it is, Lord, help me to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So let me have courage to change the things I can change. Help me to understand the things I cannot change. And let me have the wisdom to know the difference between those. It's such a powerful prayer. So I am a life coach, and life coaching is something we really do on the phone. And so you can do it from wherever you are worldwide. Give me a call, reach out. My website is charlottesoul.com. Sign up for my mailing list. I send out blogs every week, except this week. I took a week off. Again, I have 8 children and it's been a little crazy, but I will be back in the blogging, and I will be here every Friday morning at 10 as best as my life allows me. Bye. I love you. Have a great weekend.